I do believe there's going to be a lot of interesting things. And what I will say is, be vigilant. We're getting started.
Is this a reckoning for the music industry?
Oh, it needs to be. And if it wasn't, I hope my presence starts that.
Thank you so much, Hope.
Yes.
Okay, check German television. So, what are we going to expect today? What's going to be? Which witnesses do you think going to be today?
I hope Cassie gets to go first. She's pregnant, and there's got to be a lot of stress around this for her. So I hope they get her out of here first. And then, so begins the dominoes.
And what will this case mean for the music industry? Will this be like the downfall for it?
Well, I hope it's the end of an era that has brought nothing but pain. At the end of the day, music should be cruelty-free. That's my company. That's what I stand for. Cruelty-free artistry.
Oh, really? Isn't this you, though, Jag? You're all about cruelty-free artistry, and yet...
The first time I seen a girl take $200 after 15 dudes had ran through her after they drugged her, and she had no idea. She didn't even know that she screamed most of the time. That's how insanely drunk and intoxicated and drugged she was. She didn't even realize she had been. All she kept saying is, "Do you know where I can get a hot cup of tea? My throat is so hoarse." And she took the $200 and signed a non-disclosure agreement for that kind of abuse.
Plus that Diddy lawsuit you've been named in. We'll let her finish what she has to say here, do a run-through about the lawsuits she's about to mention, then I'll play you this full audio. Need a little bit more context, so you can better understand how sick it is she showed up to the courthouse acting like some kind of victim's advocate.
The one thing that I hate most about this case is that a lot of the records that people love were born of silent and secret pain that was covered up by corruption and money, and that needs to end.
Like the time you were in charge of paying a girl $200 to stay quiet after she'd been drugged and brutalized?
And do you what kind of witnesses, what kind of celebrities do you think we're going to see here as witnesses?
Expect everyone that you didn't think would be there. That's what I will say. A lot of people keep betting on a lot of things. This is a federal case. They are taking this very seriously. Just...
Who should be nervous? I mean, like...
Everyone. Everyone should be nervous. Yeah. Everyone. Like,
Ashton Kutcher, give me some names. Who do you think?
For legal reasons, I can't say. I keep ending up in lawsuits for things that I didn't do, so I have to plead on that one. I'm just gonna say, if I'm here, I ain't here for nothing.
So do you think the whole music industry is gonna be, like, how big is this case?
Look at who's looking for houses out of the country. Start there.
Okay, start. All right, that was good to me. Thank you so much.
And just for a record, spell your first and last name for me.
Jaguarwright.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Can you get it?
All right.
NBC.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who's first?
NBC. How we doing?
Hello.
What's happening today?
Everything. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Very nice. Look at us now.
How you doing, man? Oh, hello.
I feel
Now let's take a closer look at these lawsuits she speaks of, that she claims are for things that I didn't do, which I'm not necessarily saying she's guilty unless decided by the court of law. But very interesting for her name to be mentioned in a Diddy lawsuit if she was entirely innocent. Defendants Valdez and Gonzalez instructed plaintiffs to sign paperwork at gunpoint. When plaintiffs refused, defendant Gonzalez would pistol whip plaintiffs on the back of their heads. Defendant Gonzalez eventually gave plaintiffs a drink, which caused them to pass out. Plaintiffs spent the night at the hotel with defendants Gonzalez and Valdez, taking turns watching them. The next morning, plaintiffs were restrained and bound by their hands in front and were placed into a vehicle. Plaintiffs then saw defendants Jaguar and Helena. Upon information and belief, defendants Jaguar and Helena were in a small sedan, light color, white or beige. Plaintiffs were then transported to the location of Plaintiff Parham 9's brutal assault on Loma Vista Drive by defendants Jaguar and Helena. Defendant Helena was the driver, and defendant Jaguar was the passenger. Defendant Helena warned plaintiffs if they tried to escape or run, that she would have to shoot you. Defendant Helena also warned plaintiffs not to throw up her vehicle, saying you better not throw up in my car or get sick. Defendant Helena mentioned having 2 partners as backup who were bounty hunters. Plaintiffs attempted to make conversation with defendant Helena, in which she admitted she was the same person who plaintiffs had met with previously. Defendant Jaguar, aggravated, stated, "You let them know who you are? That's really great." Plaintiffs noticed defendants had large brown bags and manila envelopes full of cash that was banded. It appeared they were separating the large sums of cash to distribute as they were placing cash into the manila envelopes. Defendant Jaguar discussed with defendant Helena how the parties started the first black-owned network. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs believed that network to be Revolt TV. Defendant Jaguar and defendant Helena discussed the other co-conspirators, but referred to them by their middle names: Natasha, defendant KK, Pedro, defendant Gonzalez, Lyra, defendant Valdez, Cornelius, defendant Odell, and Larry, shortened for Lawrence, defendant Pelletier. When defendant Jaguar said Cornelius, it upset defendant Helena, who said that defendants Odell and Drusky were her clients, and nothing better happened to them, and plaintiffs better not say anything about them, or she would have plaintiffs killed. Defendant Jaguar then told plaintiffs they were being taken to meet John. Plaintiffs now know that was referring to defendant Diddy. Plaintiffs observed several individuals gathered around a bed, while defendants Gonzalez and Valdez stood outer guard. Plaintiffs observed defendants Jaguar and Helena enter the residence. Defendant Jaguar told plaintiffs, "He wants something you have. If I were you, I'd figure out what it is really fast." The he defendant was referring to is believed to be defendant Diddy. Shortly after, defendant Drusky appeared wearing a vest and shorts, and he engaged in conversation with plaintiffs. Plaintiffs tried to appeal to defendant by talking about the music industry, and defendant instructed plaintiffs that they should cooperate. Plaintiffs observed defendant Shane place a pillow over plaintiff Parham's face, suffocating her, and plaintiff Jane Doe yelled for them to stop, or that she would die. Plaintiff Jane Doe believes plaintiff Parham did lose consciousness because she became limp and unresponsive. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant Valdez to shut her up, and defendant Valdez hit plaintiff Jane Doe with the handle of his firearm. Plaintiff John Doe witnessed plaintiff Parham being assaulted by the remote, and when he tried to say something, plaintiff was told to shut up, or they would put the remote in him next. Plaintiff John Doe believes he heard defendant Jaguar make remarks, "Put that remote in her, Zrania, she's going to learn today," and telling plaintiff Parham that she was going to make it worse. Plaintiffs believe the remote assault was to punish plaintiff Parham for the IUD failure. All right, now let's listen to the full resurfaced audio clip of Jag regaling her pimpin' past.
I used to get money for girls after they would run through and run trains on them. And they would give me a certain amount of money, and I had to make deals with them to not go to the police and to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Oh my God.
I got a stack of NDAs at the top of every week and $5,000 in cash. And this is back in the 90s. $5,000 was a little bit of money, but it wasn't a lot of money. I got a stack of NDAs and $5,000. And they told me whatever I didn't pay out, I could keep. The first time I seen a girl take $200 after 15 dudes had ran through her after they drugged her, and she had no idea. She didn't even know that she screamed most of the time. That's how insanely drunk and intoxicated and drugged she was. She didn't even realize she had been. All she kept saying is, "Do you know where I can get a hot cup of tea? My throat is so hoarse." And she took the $200 and signed a non-disclosure agreement for that kind of abuse. Now, when I quit, it was when the white girl came to me to negotiate. And I said, "How about we start with $500? She said, "How about I know they give you at least $5,000 for this? Tell them they're going to have to come to the table with more money if they want me to sign off on this paper." The white girl, turned out she was pre-law. She was in college studying pre-law. She knew all about it. And she walked away with $25,000 that night. And guess what? Of all of the women that I paid off while I worked for this particular crew, she got the most money. and it was the black girls that accepted the least amount of money. I actually ran out of cash one time, and I couldn't find anybody with petty cash to go get more money to pay off more girls. And those girls accepted backstage passes at the next concert instead.
Oh my God.
After being viciously raped for 7 hours with 12 men.
I can't say for sure who the women or girls she was confessing about having paid for and coerced into signing NDAs, but Ashley Parham, who filed that lawsuit against Diddy, which named Jaguar and other co-conspirators in an awfully similar situation, has spoken out publicly about this barbaric violation against her.
Ashley Parham is here to fill in some blanks. As a recap, she says the gang rape happened at the home of a mutual acquaintance in the Bay Area back in 2018. She says that Sean Combs singled her out because she publicly disrespected him in a FaceTime call and accused him of orchestrating the murder of Tupac Shakur. She says that Combs and 3 other men raped her, the other men acting on Diddy's orders. She also claims that members of Combs' entourage stood by, even helped out in the assault. Afterward, she says everybody simply hung around drinking and smoking as though nothing had happened. Months after putting her name on a highly explicit, exhaustively detailed court filing, Ashley Parham has decided to go on national television and answer questions about it. She asked us if we could conceal her face, and we agreed. She also wanted to be joined by her attorney, Ariel Mitchell. Here's our conversation. Ashley and Ariel, thank you very much for doing this. I know this is extremely sensitive. I'll ask the questions best I can, and I'll challenge the best I can, understanding that this is delicate information. With that in mind, Ashley, can you tell me how you first even came into contact and came to know Sean Combs?
I met a man named Shane Pierce at the bar, and outside of the bar, he had Sean Combs on a FaceTime phone call, and he overheard me saying I wasn't impressed by him and wasn't a fan, and that I thought he killed Tupac. And
do you believe that that's what started all of this, that perhaps Sean Combs had a grudge, just hearing that you believed he was Tupac's killer?
Yeah, I think that's what started it, because that's when he threatened me, that he was gonna come after me, and he threatened he was gonna eat my face, so I didn't take him seriously. I just thought he was a bizarre human being.
At what point did you come into actual physical contact? Did you see him face to face for the first time? What were the circumstances?
It was when Shane Pierce had called me, and he claimed he wasn't feeling well from his cancer treatment and he needed help opening his medication. So I went over there to help him out, and it turned out he was just fine and he didn't need my help. It was weird. He wanted to show me his new car, and he took me on a short drive around the Renda Hills, and then we got back to his little bachelor pad in the house, and he offered me a glass of water, and I drank it, and I started to feel a little bit off. And then I heard a bunch of people coming down the stairs, and it was Sean Combs and a whole bunch of people who just busted in the door. He said something like, "Bet you didn't think you were ever going to see me." You know, I was just in complete shock and frozen. He had Christina Coram he ordered her to insert a copper IUD, but luckily it deployed before she could actually get it inside me, like inside the cervix. And that's when Sean Combs got extremely angry, and he grabbed the TV remote and sexually assaulted me. The knife that Sean Combs had put against my face earlier, where he wanted to cut my face, and Christina Corum told him that it wouldn't be good for human trafficking me, that clients wouldn't like it. I found that knife because they had left it in there. So I tried to hide it on my left side underneath partially of the t-shirt. And I stepped outside, and that's right where the bodyguard with a gun was, and they told me to sit down. So I sat down on this makeshift bench out of buckets and a plywood. I just had to sit there and just kind of listen to Sean Combs brag about what he did to me, and that he's gotten away with more serious crimes and no one would believe me. And he mentioned Tupac. And
to be clear, this is outside now. This is in the backyard. You have now moved out towards the backyard where they are all sitting outside?
Yeah, they were all in the backyard sitting outside just having fun with each other, like, and they were smoking and drinking like it was just a normal day for them.
So what happened after that?
I was sitting there on the bench and I wasn't allowed to leave. At one point, Sean Combs threw a fanny pack at me that was full of drugs, and I got angry and I threw the fanny pack into the bush, and that's when the bodyguard told me that I had messed up and to go get it, and Sean quickly said, no, she needs to stay there. Someone else go get it. So I couldn't get up from the seat. Christina Corum and a bunch of people were just hanging out and smoking and chatting and having fun. Sean Combs turns to me and he says, why haven't we ever partied like this before? And that's when I got enraged and I said, this is not a party, you raped me. He attempted to bribe me with some amount of money and I said, no, you raped me. I'm not going to stay silent on this.
And I just want to go back to that one detail. Sean Combs said to you that he killed Tupac or that he had Tupac killed? Which one was it?
He paid to have Tupac killed.
That's what he said in that moment in the backyard, that he had paid to have Tupac killed.
Yes, and he was bragging about it.
And Ariel, I'll ask you to step in here. Is there a police report from that night, from the Costra police, to indicate that they had responded to this gun complaint and obviously what Ashley says was a rape complaint as well?
The Contra Costa Sheriff did admit that there was a complaint on March 23rd, 2018, but they claimed they investigated it and it was unfounded. So all of the women who have reported alleged sexual assaults to the Contra Costa police have all had their claims investigated and unfounded. I spoke to Ashley's therapist who informed me that she has treated several, countless women throughout the county who all reported their crimes and the sexual batteries against them to the Contra Costa Sheriff, and all of them were found to be unsubstantiated. I actually have spoken to 2 individuals, one of whom is a rape victim of Shane Pierce, who was raped by Shane Pierce 6 years before this incident happened to Ashley. She reported the crime to the police in Contra Costa, and they also unsubstantiated her claim.
It wasn't just the Contra Costa County Sheriffs that Ashley made a report to. She also reported this to the Walnut Creek Police and to the Orinda County, or the Orinda Police Department. Ariel, was there any response from those police departments?
So Orinda and Walnut Creek are city police departments, all under the umbrella of Contra Costa County. So I did reach out to them, and they directed me to go through Contra Costa County, and anybody from myself on down who have made public records requests to the county for these reports and these records have all been denied. They refuse to give us any public records that we are entitled to in relation to all of the times Ashley reported this crime to these 3 different police departments.
She further says she was given enough drugs to kill a horse on the night of the alleged attack. I asked her about that. Do you think that the water that you'd been offered prior to them arriving was drugged, and did you feel as though you were under any kind of influence at this point of the alleged gang attack?
The oil too.
Yeah, I did feel a little bit off from the water, but before they raped me, Sean Combs pulled out a bottle of what turned out to be oil, and he doused my whole body in it to the point my hands were dripping, and I couldn't push anybody away from me. And then I just slowly, like, my body started to not function properly, and I wasn't able to fight back or do anything.
After 15 dudes had ran through her after they drugged her, and she had no idea. She didn't even know that she screamed most of the time. That's how insanely drunk and intoxicated and drugged she was. She didn't even realize she had been. All she kept saying is, "Do you know where I can get a hot cup of tea? My throat is so hoarse."
And then in the affidavit, you mentioned that as the alleged gang rape is ending, Sean Combs takes a pill out of a bag and he puts it in your mouth. Do you know what it was and what effect did it have?
It was a white circular pill. I don't know what it was, but I'm assuming it was like Plan B or something, because the copper IUD didn't work.
Did it have any kind of drugging effect on you? Did you feel as though you became even more incapacitated afterwards, or did it have no effect on you?
I was pretty incapacitated, so it didn't feel like it did anything more to me.
Did that party all eventually leave the room and leave you in that state, or what happened after the gang rape ended?
Christina Coram came over. I was hanging halfway off the bed, just kind of lifeless, and she came over to check on if I was still alive and breathing and stuff, and she had a bag that had IVs and little medical bottles that I don't know what would be in them. I do remember that they did put an IV in me, but they didn't have a stand. And they put it on top of the table near where Sean had been sitting. And I remember that I grabbed at it and it fell to the floor, and the bodyguard was still in the room, and he put it back on the table saying it wouldn't work if it was on the floor.
When you went to the hospital, was it immediately after the incident or was it several days later? And if later, were they able to do a rape kit that has some integrity to it due to the proximity to the incidents themselves?
It was later.
A couple of weeks later, right?
A couple of weeks later, unfortunately. I didn't have the guts to go earlier, and I regret that.
Talk about when you contacted your personal physician for the testing.
Oh yeah.
STD testing.
I contacted my primary care physician, and I told her that I had been raped, and she gave me all the STD tests and the HIV tests that all luckily came back negative.
Understanding that the hospital report is in depth and lengthy, is there anything that you have in the hospital report that can prove or disprove Ashley's claims about what happened that night?
It proves that she went to the hospital and that she reported a rape and that they did a rape kit. And of course, unfortunately, due to the delay, there was not much that was or could have been found.
I should also mention this other lawsuit she's embroiled in. A man named Brian McKnight filed a defamation suit for false claims Jaguar had been spreading online about him, saying that he was abusive towards his ex-wife and the prostitutes he'd cheated on her with. Strange that none of these victims and witnesses have had any lawsuits of any kind filed against them. But Jag, a self-proclaimed victims advocate, has not only been accused of partaking in human trade and freak-off events, but for spreading lies online. Which is all the more interesting, since Jag had attempted to go head-to-head with Allie Carter, accusing her of lying, and was caught in other resurfaced clips, taking credit for the lies being spread about Allie, and spoke about how joyful she was about assassinating her character. Oddly enough, Allie hasn't had any lawsuits filed against her, defamation or otherwise, and she's called out many major celebrity names. For someone who claims to be an advocate for victims, Jag has done the most to try and silence Allie and other alleged victims, including those who were allegedly victimized as children.
You know, when I realized that they were going to start going heavier at inventing storylines and narratives, I decided to create one of my own. You know, if we gonna play make-believe, baby, don't let me miss out on the fun. Let me go in my StreamYard and check the date on this very special secret live. I'm a doozy. You know, Maggie, I'm not a little bit mean. I'm a lot mean. I really am. I enjoy it. I do. I take pleasure in my barbary. When I'm coming to bust somebody in the head, I want them to know I done it. You know, that's just the way I am.
Yep.
Oh, yes. What's today's date? The 14th. The 14th? Mm-hmm. This live was recorded January 3rd. So what's that now, babe? 11 days? Mm-hmm. Too Strong said when they stopped by after New Year's, what was that, the 1st or the 2nd? They said in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they ended up moving a little sooner than they were going to because everyone started jumping on the Allie Carter story and started trying to control the narrative here.
Yeah.
On YouTube. And we all know that Corey Fair came through and announced on the Jaguar Wright Effect that they would be unveiling some truths. And then the next thing you know, Allie Carter here, Allie Carter there, here Allie, there Allie, everywhere Allie, Allie. Oh my goodness. People that weren't even discussing her jumped on it.
Even Alexis K. Tyler sucks.
Alexis K. Tyler, everyone's talking about why.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So anyway, back to this special live. I'm calling it the turducken receipt. Because see, what's becoming very clear is that there were things that were discussed in this secret live with me and Grace. I'm having such a hard time guarding my mouth because I'm really proud of myself. I love it when I run a clean op and nobody knows, you know? It lets me know I still got it. You know, the espionage is strong with me. But I wanted to try out my own little storyline. And I wanted to see what it would do. See, the beautiful thing about my ops is they run in the backdrop before they come to the foreground. And usually it's me and the trolls racing to see who gets to hit first or hardest. But this, it's Inception. You know, when you put an idea together and then you put it out there into the world and you focus on it and you guide it to fruition. The Alley Carter story, it was going to crash eventually. There was no way they was going to be able to keep all up. It's sad that it took someone like me to just nuzzle in on the fact that if she took her exposure seriously, why would she be dishonest about Tupac being her father? The simple fact that it took someone like me to get people talking about these things is kind of disturbing because this girl's been running her mouth like this for half a decade.
Let's not forget there are numerous lawsuits filed against Diddy and associates by those who were children when they were allegedly victimized. Let's stand up for them, and for those speaking out for their protection and defense. I'll be continuing my crusade for the common denominators of truth, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Hi, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, thank you. Well, hi, everybody. It's been a minute. We will be live very soon, but we have some things that we need to show you, follow along with. And as you can tell, the line just keeps getting longer for those who want to kill us. Not that we care, but it's getting longer. So we appreciate those of you that are here, that sincerely care about the truth, and our well-being, for that matter. There's some things that we want to talk to y'all about, and we haven't been live since what, January? Um, my mom and I are going through a lot, and with where we have to go next, I have a feeling we're about to go through more. So I thank you all again for being on here, and if it's possible for you to be ready with screen recorders, um, just in case there's an issue that I think I know what's coming, but I'll wait, and we'll let go and let God. But the Panthers, all Black Panthers, you don't scare me. It's cute, but you don't scare me. That little girl is dead, and she's gone, and she grew up, and she doesn't exist anymore. So the grown woman that I am now, you don't scare me. And the programming that you put in place, yeah, that's broken. If you haven't noticed, I don't know if you could tell. We'll see. No, I was not in a facility. Contrary to trending belief, as you can hear us talking, we are alive. We're not dead. Um, I've never been in a facility. Um, no, we're not missing. I don't know who keeps carrying these rumors, but I want to know missing to who. Because, like the post that went out from the big man, there's 44 superheroes that know where we are at all times, all day, every day. And there's receipts to where we are all day, every day, in case of rumors and lies like you guys see going on. We cover all of our bases because we're not stupid. But there's some things that we've been trying to tell y'all for years now. What about going on 5 years? I know a lot of you are like, it was hard to fathom. It was hard to understand. I don't get it because this is not something that I've ever seen before or heard before. I never even knew it was my reality. Well, now that you know that it's your reality, what are you doing? And no, um, I am not, and I have not been invited to the Black Panther party that they're calling a Diddy trial. Did you hear me? The Black Panther red carpet event that they're calling a Diddy trial for entertainment purposes. We're not talking about the children. We're talking about adults. It's good that we're finally talking about the adults that went through these things at 19 years old, barely legal age. But we're still not talking about the children. And if a grown man and other people were able to do this to a 19-year-old, it got covered by how many people? Hotel administration, police officers that were called, the DOJ, and so much more. And now it's coming to light. What do you think is happening to children that you feel like you couldn't fathom? If you're listening to what's going on this Diddy trial, what do you think is happening to the kids that they're not mentioning? The kids that are dead that nobody even knew about years ago. Look at how long it took for y'all to know about Cassie. How long is it going to take for you to know about the children? If Diddy is capable of it, who else do you think were at these parties? I don't want to hear anymore about we're protecting survivors, Pamela Bondi. You're protecting buyers. Say it like it is. Don't lie. Say it like it is. Dan Bongino, Cash Patel, Pamela Bondi. Y'all are protecting buyers at this point. I've asked to unredact my name. I've asked to unredact the ledgers. I've asked to unredact the things that I was a part of so you can see who the buyers are. We already have our life on the line. There's already a line of people that want to kill us. You think we're scared? You think we care? Do you think that I mean, it could get worse, but here we are. So if you need to use me as a stink bait, just like everybody else has done, to tell the truth about what's going on to the children, do it. I'm down. Somebody has to. I'm not afraid to do it. For those of you who are saying this administration is possibly scared and their lives are at risk, did y'all hear about Virginia Jeffrey? She's dead. Where's the protection for the victims? Witness protection program does not exist. Do y'all ever hear about anybody talking about witness protection program? You can't, because it's a government funded, supposedly, agency brought to you by the CIA. Do you honestly think that witness protection program exists? Do you ever hear anybody come out and say, hey, witness protection, the government kept me safe? They can't, because they can't even talk about it if it exists.
Let me give you a little bit of food for thought regarding suicides, for survivors, for people that they want to shut up. Suicide is the easiest way to take somebody out and to shift all the focus from any wrongdoing. So immediately, if you see somebody that's committed suicide and it's in a controversial setting, Epstein, Virginia, things like that, that should always raise a red flag to you. Let me tell you something else about suicide. If somebody were to have MK Ultra programming, they have things put in place where they can trigger a survivor. They can trigger an alter in a survivor to come up and commit suicide. It's a fail-safe. So there, with Epstein, now we have to look at other things. So maybe he did commit suicide, but who triggered his programming? Maybe the suicide was covered up, which it probably was. With Virginia, my first thought was she probably has MK Ultra programming and somebody triggered her suicide fail-safe switch. So there's, 30 years ago, we are in black and white thinking it's either this or it's that. We go to the police for help. We do what the doctor tells us. We do this, we do that. You got to set all that stuff aside and you got to step back and be objective, because there's so many other variables and things in place that we don't possess the ability to factor into what we're seeing until we start stepping out of the little box that we were been contained in and start seeing things through different eyes. MK Ultra survivors have suicide programming programmed into them. And it is often very graphic and violent, and if they get triggered, they will continue to keep trying to kill themselves till they succeed. So there's a lot of different things we need to look at. I remember back, there's been a lot of celebrities, Robin Williams, the doorknob suicides. Go back and look at those things through new eyes. You're going to see things that you missed, that you couldn't wrap your head around because you didn't have the information. You have the information now. So start looking at things differently.
I pray that Virginia gets the rest that she deserves. There's no justice until the truth is brought to the light for Virginia, but I pray that she gets the rest that she deserves. We are not suicidal. There will be no car accidents, no accidental fires, no accidental explosions. There is nothing in our car. We are not carrying any weapons. We are not carrying any medications that cannot be accounted for legally. We do not incite any violence. But we are asking you to help us, fight with us, raise your voice with us, because I know a lot of you are late to this party because you didn't know, but now you know. So what the hell are you waiting for? It's the people's opinion that really matters. Y'all get that, right? It's the people. So when the people all at once stand up and stop signing the paychecks to celebrities, to corrupt officials, to corrupt content creators, that's when this game ends. Y'all get that, right? And if you didn't before, do you now? You should be pissed because you missed a lot if you're just waking up. Thank you for being here. Please listen to this next video. Please help us share it everywhere. We'll be live very soon. Insurance holders, we are cleaning out the closet, finally. Don't have to do it while we're dead either. To do it alive. I'm over it. I'm pissed. And I can't take it anymore. So enough's enough. We'll be live and in person so you guys can see our faces and know it's us. We want to show you some things too because we have to go into a lion's den. And we're not scared. We legit are not scared to walk straight up in hell, spit on the devil's floor, and find some water to bring back for other survivors. I'm down. You get my analogy? I'm down. Okay? So thank you so much again for watching this next video, sharing this next video, and raising your voice with us. Hold our officials accountable. No matter who you are, the children are off limits, period. You should have thought about that before you put your hands on me. Thank you, everybody. Talk soon. Oh, and Lassane, fuck you.
The saying goes, actions speak louder than words. But inaction also speaks louder than words, and that's what we're dealing with right now. I'm sure I'm going to anger a lot of you with what I'm about to say. Those of you still clinging to your illusions, please trust me when I say I don't care. Where we're at right now, you're either for the children or against the children. My name is Shelly Carter. I have been the adopted mom of Allison Carter for almost 16 years. Allie was raised as a child sex slave, beginning at the age of 3 months old, according to the CPS reports that I have in my possession. I posted those online. We are just coming off one of the worst smear and slander campaigns against us that I've ever witnessed. It was an attempt to silence Allie and to discredit me. I have literally had every accusation imaginable thrown my way. So believe me when I say, your anger over what I'm about to say won't faze me or shake me in the least. Your response will show me if you stand for or against the children. However, it is my deepest hope that after you lash out at me, you will take a moment to reflect. Reflect on what I'm saying, reflect who I am saying it for, and reflect on why I'm saying it now. Allie was raised in child sex slavery in the United States to be a sex slave to the elite. From infancy, she was sex trafficked, used in satanic bloodletting and sex magic rituals. To be trafficked at that level requires MKUltra programming, which ties to our U.S. government and the CIA. Allie has MKUltra programming. From the MKUltra programming, she has over 200 altars that I've documented. I believe it's closer to 300 or 400. The MKUltra programming was created in the dark shadows of our military by people with evil intent and at the guidance of the Black Panther's bloodline that she was born into. She was programmed as a child to sexually service and feed the evil, greed, and fetishes of the elite we all idolize. My fight began 16 years ago for her safety and for her healing, and for the justice for her and for every child and survivor that experienced the same things she did. As it stands in the United States, conservatively speaking, 8 million children go missing a year. Add to that the 350,000 children missing from the U.S. border who are being trafficked as we speak. You may not understand what that level of fear, pain, and torture look like in the eyes of a child, but I do. I've seen it every day. I've seen it every hour of every day in each of the 200 of Allie's altars that come up in various stages of fear, pain, torture, and trauma. If you are a parent, I shouldn't have to explain the urgency to you that we as humans should feel to our very core that we need to solve this problem quickly and by any means necessary. If we cannot protect and care for our children, what is the point of anything else? I am disgusted and angry at the inaction of our new officials tasked with the responsibility of bringing justice for the children. I've not seen urgency in them, but I have seen attempts to gaslight and placate the public. Pamela Bondi, Allie has given you express, verbal, and written permission to unredact her name in the child porn ledgers and the documents you possess from her time at the islands, from her time at Diddy's freak-off and white parties, from the numerous visits she was taken to at the Playboy Mansion, from her being trafficked over state lines to Snoop Dogg's 2009 concert in State Line, Nevada, from Oprah Winfrey's house, from being trafficked to Joe Biden's party under the Getty, from being trafficked to Obama, from being trafficked to Michelle, and from hundreds of other buyers listed on the ledgers that you seem determined to keep from the public. Shame on you. You countered Allie's public request to unredact her name, stating you, and I quote, would be keeping survivors' names redacted for their safety. I wonder how Virginia feels about your concern for her safety. I'll tell you how I feel. I, Allie's mom, am doing everything in my power to keep Allie safe, while you're doing everything in your power to keep the buyers of children safe. We are not the same. Am I really to believe in the last 90 days that you could not release information on a single child sex slave buyer? It has been 90 days since you promised to release the Epstein buyers the following day. That was a lie. You said the files were on your desk. That was also a lie. You said there was a truckload of documents and ledgers, but there were only 100 to 200 survivors. That is also a lie. There are thousands and thousands of survivors that span decades, some living and some dead. We, the American people, are disgusted and exhausted by the games and the lack of urgency coming from your office regarding the children. No one asked you to give a timeline on the release of the information. You volunteered that on your own, and then you lied to every child and survivor when you failed to keep your promise. You broke trust with the American public as your first course of action. You did that. I'm just calling it out. I see your urgency to address and report on every other issue. Kesh Patel, when you stepped into your role as director of the FBI, you walked into a cesspool of corruption. Things like MK Ultra programming that created slaves out of human beings that were later trafficked because of the MK Ultra. I had hoped against hope that you would do what you said and be transparent and clean out the corruption at the FBI. I've not seen any evidence of that. The chaos and confusion that you participated in with Bondi over the Epstein files, whether they were a file folder that was on her desk, whether it was a truckload of tens of thousands of videos and ledgers coming from your office to hers, you've created chaos and confusion, and that reeks of corruption on your part. To add insult to injury, you and your sidekick went on live TV to tell the people that Epstein committed suicide, telling the American public your opinion on something
is not transparency. True transparency would be you showing the Epstein files, unredacting the autopsy reports, unredacting any investigative information, and releasing it to the public so we could see it for ourselves. That's what transparency is, and you are not doing any of that. So I have to ask myself, why would the new director of the FBI be covering up and hiding and shielding the buyers on the Epstein list? Why would the head of the DOJ, the Attorney General, why would she be hiding, covering up, stalling for the information of people that are buying children for sex slavery? 30 years ago, I was a sheep and I would have believed everything coming out of your mouth. But 16 years ago, I became the mom of a survivor, and I can see through the bullshit because I see how deep the corruption goes. The most foolish thing that I could be doing right now is calling out to the Attorney General of the United States and the director of the FBI. That's a death sentence.